Now that you have your Makerforge out of the box, make sure your table's nice and stable. You're going to find plastic film all over the Makerforge, and that's to protect it during shipping. Peel all of that off. In your box, you'll find a filter, which is going to go to the very back here, and a glass bed. The glass bed will also have a plastic layer, and that needs to come off as well. Next, take your power cable, plug it into the side of your Makerforge, and then plug this into a standard outlet. With your unit plugged in, turn it on and give it a few moments to boot up. You should see a screen light up in a moment, and you should hear a small computer fan briefly run. We'll open our front doors here, and we'll start by installing the filter. The white side should be forward, and you'll see a little airflow arrow at the top. This goes to the very back, and it will be just a little stiff. Next, take your glass bed, gently push it into the two slots at the back, set it down, and take the two arms at the front and push them into place. Excellent, our printer's on, so let's load some filament. I'm going to grab a pink roll and some scissors, and we'll set this up. If it's just out of the package, you're going to find it attached tight on the side, which is exactly the way we want so that it doesn't unspool and get all knotted up. So every time you take your filament off, make sure you thread it through those spaces. Our filament now has some bends and kinks in it, so I'm going to use some scissors. Just give it a nice clip here so it's a clean, angled edge. That will feed nicely into the printer. I'm not going to let go of that either, because if I do, it could unfurl, and that would be irritating to deal with. You're also going to find this component. This is going to mount on the outside of your Makerforge to hold your filament. Let's go do that now. Take your holder and just set it in there. It'll sit down nicely. I still haven't let go of that end. I'm going to place my filament so it sits nicely, and I'm going to run the filament inside and into our sensor. And I'm not going to let go of that filament until I know it's just stuck in there enough that it won't unspool. Open up the top, reach in. You're going to push this filament through the sensor. It should just slide through easily. And you're going to go over to this hole at the very top. This is where we load our filament into the nozzle. There's a little lever here on the side. If I press down on it, a gear is going to open up and allow the filament into the space. Now I'm not going to push any further than that because I haven't told the printer that I'm loading it. I just want the filament in a nice place. The sensor has a one direction arrow to remind you what direction the filament goes in. This sensor is really great because if you're working on a large print where you're leaving the printer to run overnight, if you run out of filament, the printer will simply wait for your arrival. When you show up again, you can just unload the printer, put in your new filament, and it will continue to print your large print. Now we're going to load our printer. We have temperatures on the left here. We have our nozzle temperature and our bed temperature. For loading, we just need to make sure that our nozzle temperature is high enough. And on your 3D filament rolls, you will see temperatures that you're supposed to set them at. Typically, PLA Plus is around 200 degrees Celsius. We'll go to Settings, and we'll set to Filament. We'll press the Load button, and now we'll wait. The Makerforge should be set automatically to 210, which is an excellent temperature for PLA+. Our temperature is now ready. You'll find the number will hover around 210 when it's starting. I can now hit the Start button. Once the printer has stopped, it should feed the filament automatically. If it doesn't catch, we'll go over how to manually start feeding the filament. I'm going to reach in, press down on the lever, and push the filament in until I feel a slight amount of pressure. Press the loading Start button again, and a gear is going to capture that filament and start pulling it in. Once you've loaded the filament, make sure the machine has enough time to go at its own pace. If you go too fast, an error will occur. Should that happen, just slow down and try again. Once your filament is loaded, there'll be a small amount of filament that's been pushed through. Make sure that you remove it and keep your space nice and clean. Let's start your first print. If you go to Internal Memory, Cubicon Sample, it will give you 4 snowmen. The one on the bottom should say PLA on it, and that's the material we're using. Select that and hit Start. It'll ask if you're sure, and you'll hit Yes. The 3D printer will then start to warm up the bed and the nozzle again. It will show you how long it will take and how long it's been running for. Good maintenance is important to keep your printer healthy and lasting a long time. You can check its system by going to the check mark and starting a diagnostic. If there's ever a problem, start with this and it will let you know what the problem is. As a general rule of maintenance, remember to keep the nozzle clean and the bed clear of any dust or leftover prints. If you're going away for a long period of time, like March break or the summer break or something of that nature, make sure you unload your filament. This is almost the same as loading. You'll select this, filament, and then unload. The printer will start to heat up, and when it's ready, we're going to do the reverse of what we did when we loaded the printer. Once the printer has stopped moving, it will automatically start pushing the filament out. What you'll do is go in, press down the lever on the side, and lift the filament out. Next, pull it right out, all the way outside the printer, and hold on to it so that your spool doesn't become undone. Our filament is off, and we're going to store it in a plastic bag because we're going to be away for a little bit. Make sure it's sealed, and I'm going to move this into a cool, dark location. Remember, you can always check out our slicing program, launchpad3d.ca, if you want to learn how to slice. And thanks for watching. Have fun printing.